Hey, happy Friday, everybody.
Hi. Happy Friday.
Oh, yeah. Happy
Here with
Friday.
Dad, Luke,
Dear friend.
dear friend, pretty much my brother.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty much. This is family. We always knew we were going to do a podcast with Luke. We didn't know when, and it was just all of a sudden, it was like, let's do this. Luke is an amazing human being and very important to us. And for those of you who are edible readers and all that stuff, you know, horoscopes, blammo.
Yep.
That's me.
That's Luke.
And articles and pieces and things. Luke is truly an artist and creative in so many things. Such a special human and been so close for years.
Yeah.
So for me, for us, this one today,
Yeah.
super honor, super special. You
And
guys
we haven't seen each other in like a couple months because like the
been a
last quarter of 2024 was like super busy, and we, you know, despite us trying to get together, we just are busy humans, and
Yeah.
it feels so good to like
I know.
get to hang out a little bit. Like
Yeah,
in
even
front of
though
a camera, before the camera's on. Like you're gonna hang out a little bit more here after camera's off today.
Right.
But yeah, I really just, you know, I'm always very effusive with both of you.
Well.
And am just so happy that we continue to get to share this little life together. So,
share this, and as it grows, and you know, Jocelyn writing an article.
Yeah, Jocelyn's my spouse. In the current issue, the new winter issue, Jocelyn wrote this cool article about Higa and like the kind of concept of doing cozy things when it's cold and kind of nasty out. Yeah, check it out in the 2025.
And the horoscope.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
horoscopes are in there too.
I was just going to say it's soon to be in, we're distributing now, so probably here pretty quickly you can go to any New Seasons and get a copy.
Market of choice, well spent
Yeah,
market.
right.
Your coffee shops.
Yep.
And right here.
And here.
And here.
At 109 Salmon Street.
Yeah.
Such a great building. Luke, you are a year here?
Yeah, I just
Now? Yeah.
actually I think today is my 1 year anniversary.
Ooh, congratulations.
There we
Yeah,
go.
cheers, guys.
All right.
I'll be announcing it, but I'll be having a 1 year anniversary party coming up soon.
Okay.
And it'll be a big one. So like gear up, get ready. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Do
Okay.
it.
Yeah.
It's such a great space, and Dean will get some pictures of the very famous stuffed animal art above
Yeah.
us. But it's just such a great space, and the concept of it was wonderful, and is wonderful, and a showcase of Statera, Larry's, and Est, and the things that you do, all the things that you are yours, your partners in. But, you know, for you and all the things you do, yes, you're a winemaker, but yes, you are so many more incredible things. You have such this rich, wonderful history. And just back from LA.
Yeah.
And for those of you who are tuning in, it's January 2025.
Yeah.
Things bad in LA
Yeah,
at
not
the
great.
moment.
Yeah. I
Different
you know,
landscape.
It's Meredith went to college. Meredith is my business partner in Statera, and she makes Est wines. She went to college down in LA. She went to UCLA. I went to school in LA. I went to Loyola Marymount, and then she left right away. I lived in LA for 10 years, and so like for me, it's more my hometown than like where I grew up is. Like I really found myself in Los Angeles, and you know the place like where the Palisades fire is like 0.9 miles away from where my like longest running job was in LA. It's like it's so close to home for what this is, and yeah,
sad.
it was really super sad flying in and seeing this gone. You know,
Insane.
yeah, but we're gonna, you know, we can do what we always do, which is like more than hopes and dreams. We're gonna try to like do some community fundraising and do what we can like as a community. I'm sure you guys have thought a lot about it too.
Yep.
About like what we can all do together to like support this community that means a lot to all of us, right?
Yeah.
Well, and it's been amazing to see, the different countries, and Mexico, South Africa, Ukraine.
Yeah.
Zelensky's sending people in the middle of a war and sending firefighters over to help with LA, and it just really shows that we're in a bit of a tenuous political climate right now.
Yeah.
And to see the Californians like, we got this, and the other people coming in to say, we got you, we're gonna support.
Yeah.
And that community thing. I mean, you use the word, and we use it all the time, and it's something that you have built around you and the wines and all the things that you've done. And
I've said this to you before, that kind of like one of my big sort of like, one of my kind of like my ethos, the sort of thing that I want to really carry with me in the way that I do business and the way that I talk to people, is that it's community, not competition. That I do not look at other wineries, I don't look at other businesses, I don't look at anything else as being anything other than an opportunity for us to have a broader, richer, more fulfilling, more loving, more supportive community. Somebody else's success is not detrimental to my own. Somebody else in my community's success is a success for me. And us, looking at a community even as far away as Los Angeles right now, largely, it's not a city that like everybody in our country loves. I feel like Los Angeles gets this like bad rap for being this like plastic city. Well, we just watched a whole forest light up in the middle of the city, and it's like, there's so much that's real and alive about this big, large kind of tinsel town. And yeah, I think like this really pulled into focus that like where we're at in terms of climate, politics, all that. Like we are looking at, social media posts of people in Ukraine or in Palestine, and it feels like it's so far away, like it's a world away. And then suddenly, like, the way the climate's going is, like, it's our phones filming what's happening to us at home. And before long, we just all really do need to be prepared for what's going to happen. Yeah. Like, right off the coast of Astoria, 300 miles off the coast of Astoria, in 2025, there is a volcano that is going to explode this year. And what's going to happen with that, we don't really know. But one thing we do know is that, like, nothing is static. Nothing is in fixed in place.
Right.
Yeah.
We are.
Change is the constant.
Change is the only constant. Yeah.
How we met Luke and how it started, I know for me, what I remember is going to a wine tasting at Division Winemaking Company in the cellar.
At Southeast Wine Collective when it was still on 35th Place.
Yeah, and didn't know you were there and didn't know you were in the room, but had Statera. First time. And Mom tried it and was in the crowd, and I tried it and was in the crowd, and we found each other and like, you gotta go try this. Like, already did.
Chardonnay.
And it was just like,
you guys love Chardonnay.
Yeah.
Like, that's one thing that kind of brought us all together.
Yeah.
I know I find my people when I find people that love Chardonnay.
Yeah.
For those that like don't know, Meredith and I own Statera Cellars. Actually, I'm happy to pour you guys a little bit if you want to try some. Yeah. We own Statera Cellars, which is an all Chardonnay brand, and we. Chardonnay is not
crazy, right?
Is not Chardonnay
in
is
Oregon.
not everybody's favorite wine, right? And we think that what we do is special and unique, and is well worth kind of taking a look at.
Chardonnays, I've been asked this question throughout my 30 plus years in the food and wine game, and people ask me, "What's your favorite grape?" And I will say Chardonnay, and they just look at you like, "What?
Are you crazy?"
The KJ,
Right.
the Rombauer,
You're like, it's not quite like that.
No.
Did you want to hand a little bit to Dean over there? Like,
Sure.
I love a little like. Cameraman deserves some wine too.
Absolutely. We're working hard.
Yeah.
We're working on our SAG cards, and we got the union back. We got to take care of.
Yeah. I always love like filming things like this because there's something to me so endearing about breaking the fourth wall and like including other people in the room, because like I worked in TV production in LA a lot, and it always feels like really kind of dehumanizing to have done all of the work to set up a production only for the cameras to go on, and then it's literally about anybody but the people that did all the work to get it set up. So the wine that's in your glass right now, this is a Johann Vineyard. This is a 2021 Johann Vineyard Chardonnay. Meredith and I started off in 2014 as one of, if not the only at the time, it really was the only all Chardonnay label in Oregon. Same year, Seth Morgan Long started his Morgan Long winery. Our wines made it to market just a little before his did. But yeah, he is making incredible wines, Chardonnay wise, and Meredith and I are also entirely focused on Chardonnay. And yeah, I think it's kind of special to get to pour you a little bit of Johann, amazing biodynamic vineyard located in the Willamette Valley, Van Duzer Corridor, AVA.
Wrote an incredible story coming at you guys.
Yeah, the spring issue of Edible will have this, like...
Amongst all the things that Luke's amazing at,
Writing.
this is our writer. We get his writing, Mom, the editor-in-chief, and I'll take a look at it. Pretty much, Luke will say, chop it up, do what you have to do. Almost nothing.
Yeah.
If anything at all.
You told me that, and I was floored the first time. I was like,
touch anything.
I didn't think that, like, because I had never written for a magazine before. I'd never written for a publication before this. And so, like, the first horoscopes that I wrote for you guys, I was like, who knows how this is going to go.
Let's see how
And
this
then,
works.
like, you guys sent me that cool email.
Right.
That came out. That was so rad, right? This lady read the horoscopes from the Edible, the fall issue, and she wrote Edible and said, "Hey, I'm from out of Oregon. I flew into town. I found your magazine, and then I was flipping through it and saw these horoscopes, and I decided to follow exactly what it told me to do in it." And she was like, "It was so spot on for me."
And she's an astrologer.
And she's an astrologer.
Not only
I was like,
this guy, they are right on.
I love this.
I'm like, beautiful.
Yeah, it was really sweet.
And the thing too, back to Johann and the other things that you've written. We put it in front of a copy editor and get a bunch of eyes on it, and it was just like no corrections have been made. Like, here you go. Go ahead and load this up and put it in.
Wow.
It's good to go.
That's really sweet. Thank you, guys.
Well, you have such a great voice. You have such a great brain that works in so many wonderful, crazy things and beautiful things.
Oh, yeah.
A Chardonnay only label in 2014.
Yeah, so we started working with Johann in 2014. So, 2024 was our 10th year as Statera Cellars making, Chardonnay together, me and Meredith. And to get to continue to work with Johann in this capacity, the same block of fruit the whole time, it's just super cool for us. Like, again, this kind of speaks to our ethos about, like, community and relationships coming before, like, anything else. And, there's a reason why we continue to work with Johann, and it's not just because the fruit's amazing, it's because the people behind it are people that we love and that we want to support, and we want to be a part of it in the same way that we feel loved and supported and taken care of by them. Everything should be looked at as an opportunity for, growing your circle, growing your community, not as an opportunity to just, like, make a buck off somebody else's labor. And yeah, that's kind of why we still love working with Johann. We work with vineyards exclusively growing organic and biodynamically farmed fruit, also with vineyards that pay living wages and provide some access to healthcare for everybody that works for them.
That was one key I want, as we were going to dig into Statera and each of the brands or labels. But that point, I'm so glad you brought that up, because I was going to ask that, and I think it's a bit in the article in the very first edition.
Yeah, because Luke was in our very first edition.
And Meredith.
Yes, they both were. Yeah.
That was one thing that was very important, is both of you, your dedication to that. It's not just this fruit, this sought after vineyard, this thing, but are you paying your people? Is this working? Sustainability on so many levels.
Yeah.
So, it's not just an environmental agriculture, but
Very specifically to that, and I'm really happy that there's like a broader sort of cultural movement around paying attention to what we consume. I think that's important. So with that comes like land management. There's this like huge kind of corporate greenwashing by calling things sustainable. But like truly, like unless you're farming organically or using biodynamics or ideally regenerative agriculture, you're not really doing like the actual work of supporting and caring for and like being a steward of land that you are blessed to get to work with. And I think that it's great to have the pursuit of like organics, biodynamics, regenerative. But I always feel like we're skipping over the labor aspect of this, where like the people doing the farming, the people actually doing the work, who cares if something is farmed, ethically, like for the land, if we're treating the people farming it unethically.
Yeah.
And that's where it's like, I do feel like there is coming this kind of wave that will be impossible to be ignored, because this is vital to us, surviving. Like we have to take care of people.
Yes. Yep. Back to community too.
Back to community.
Yeah. And valuing everybody that's involved in.
Yeah.
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 I mean, we throw around, these words get thrown around, like you said, the greenwashing, but all, and they're already getting a hold of regenerative organic certification. They're already getting after the 3 pillars of ROC. I'm like, we haven't even really had that long, and you guys are already, greenwashing that, for lack of a better word. I'm like, this is just insane, and it for the buck,
It's for the buck. It's like when people say like, oh, I feel like natural wine is like kind of like hot right now. It's like the new thing that people, and I'm like, no, this is what wine was before we figured out how to like strip apart all of like unused munitions from World War II to turn them into fertilizer, and we figured out a way to like completely pollute the world around us with something new, right? And with that came glyphosates and came these things that we now universally know to be bad for us. And I think there's like often in times of this like tumult, it's like easy to get lost in the sauce, or like you can go back to kind of like the roots, to like the beginnings of things. And this is where like sometimes it's nice to get to turn the focus onto like how things actually started. Regen, like it was always that way. Use what you have and don't add more.
Farmed by the moon, it's like it wasn't called naturally, it was just farming.
It's the way you did it.
Yeah,
It's just the way
farming.
it was done.
Yeah.
Or you look at the skin inclusion on like the orange wines, or the idea of pet nats and all of that. I'm like, this is nothing new. Matter of fact, this is how it was done to begin with.
Yeah.
100%.
And with respect and honor, farming by the moon and the this and the that,
And even if you're not going that route, you know, there's just something to be said about continuing to do things with the focus being like on care, right? Not making money.
The land and the people.
Money's great. We all need it.
Yeah.
Like
Gotta have it. Gotta do it.
we're all like unwilling participants in capitalism, right? Like
Yeah.
and we all have to like confront our day-to-day lives that there's no ethical consumption in capitalism.
Right.
Like, unless you are able to dramatically shift the way that you produce, use, reuse, like, it's difficult to, like, ethically purchase everything online and have it shipped from across an ocean to make your life easier, right? Like, it's hard. And we're all, like, none of us are, like, guilty of anything there. It's just that that's the system that we are unwilling participants in.
100%.
So yeah, in our small way for this company, like we're just trying to buy local fruit from people that are taking care of land and taking care of the people that are farming it. And that's like a big part of what we want to do. You know, we just want to keep spreading the good word about it.
In 10 years, going to be 11 this year. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, that's
amazing.
and that dedication right from the get-go. I mean, doing it that way before the natural wine thing was a thing.
Yeah.
You know, and before all those, but having that, I'm going to use the word foresight, but just having, it's your commitment, man. It's your ethics, and it's who you are, and it's one of the things that I love and appreciate about you.
I can't imagine doing it any other way, and it's mostly because to what end? You know, what is my ultimate goal here? You know, it's again, it's about community, and I can't imagine building community via the route of a path that's not going to consider the land that we're working with community as well. We've gotten in the habit of dehumanizing the planet, and dehumanizing the animals and labor that's beneath us, and it's just how have we gotten to this way? And again, it's this sort of we're all participants in this thing that we kind of have to be a part of.
Yeah.
And you know, we're not immune from that either. This little business here, we need the support of our community for us to continue to survive. At making wine, for this little tasting room to survive. We need people's help. We need people to come here and enjoy it. Come here. We all have.
You gotta come. You gotta come hang out. It's fun.
and
it's good. It's
Yeah, it's
always
cute.
a good time.
And give us the address.
Oh yeah, the address here is 109 Southeast Salmon Street, Suite B3. It's kind of the suite numbers don't really matter, because once you get
Right.
up here, you're not going to want to leave. There's 3
Right.
wineries up here.
Right.
There's Ocholato right across the hall away from me. Buono Notte is at the other end of the hall. I think the Buono Notte podcast just went up today, didn't it? Yeah. So this building
You
is
weren't, you weren't here. You were in LA.
I was in LA.
Graham and then you.
Yeah, that's okay. No, this is a really great place to come hang out. It's kind of like a food cart pod that's inside. But it's the food carts are 3 wineries. We each do 3 different kind of variations of food and whatnot. And this is just a great spot.
It's an incredible building, and this is where we house our store magazines, and it's where a key, important, impressive handful of other businesses and companies, culinary, beverage, and adjacent, here in Portland. This is where they house their stuff too. And then you look at who owns the building and runs the building, and all the people involved with it. And when you come in here, that energy and the creativity in this space. I mean, when we first came up, when you were coming in, when you were putting this together, and this upstairs and all the things that were coming together in this building, there is this energy here. And then with you and Graham and what LJ's doing and everything, and then the events down the corner, it's just, what a special place.
Yeah.
This is a special place. These are special people. This is a special group. I say, you know what? If you're having a writer's block or something's clogged up and you can't think, come stand here in the hallway for 5 minutes, and you're like, got it.
Yeah.
And
It's pretty neat, LJ was one of my first friends here in Portland. He makes Ocholato wines. His little tasting room is right across the hallway from me here. To continue to work on this community and relationship with one another, in a lot of ways, in a lot of other corners of the wine industry, people would never put 3 tasting rooms in direct competition with one another in this
5 feet apart.
I mean, he literally is 5 feet from me. And people would never do that, right? There would never be this sort of sense of camaraderie and help and gassing each other up. And the kind of point of this floor, these little speakeasy tasting rooms, is just that, to show people that what the Willamette Valley has is special. What we do here in this part of the world is really unique. There's no way you would see this happening in Napa or in Sonoma. There's no way. Absolutely no way. And I feel really, really honored to get to continue to be not just a part of it, but participating in it. And this is our 2nd year up here. We just are starting as of today, our 2nd year. And it's really neat to kind of see, like, in my mind, like, what will happen, like, what could happen. Like, tell yourselves good stories and good endings will come of them, right? If you tell yourselves bad stories, don't be surprised by the results. Yeah.
Speak that in.
If you guys want to try a little bit more wine, here's a dump bucket. Feel free to empty anything out. But I've got a Larry's wine up here and an Est wine as well.
Perfect. And kind of traveling back to about us first meeting. We had the wine not knowing you or meeting you or Meredith at Southeast Wine Collective back in the day. And then we went to Just Pressed, and it was the first Just Pressed event.
Yeah, that was a funny one, hey?
And you and Dad were walking around, and I was walking around with my girlfriend at the time. We were satelliting and moving around the room differently. And it was a great event. It was a very good idea. I think they should do it 4 times a year with the same wine so people can see the true evolution of winemaking, what it's about. But it's a great idea to, help people understand. I wasn't quite sure how people got drunk until I realized that there was actual finished wines there. Because I'm like, this wine's not even old enough to have any fuel on it yet. Like,
I always try to remind people, it's a wine tasting, not a wine drink everything, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're allowed to spit stuff out.
Yeah.
Please.
Also, this just came out of the barrel. They just got pressed
there's
last week.
There's some sugar left, like maybe chill a little bit.
It's gonna rip off the enamel and tear your tongue apart.
The active yeast culture, you're just like, oh.
It's like kombucha 2,200
it's like,
times.
would you eat like a little block of like, actively rising sourdough? Like, absolutely not. No.
Well, when you go into some cellars and you see those barrels with the glass head on it and you can see in it, and people are like, what's going on in there? I'm like, that's the yeast and that's the grape. This is, it's alive, man. It's a living thing going on here.
Yeah.
But it was that, and again, we found each other in the crowd, and you're like, you got to go taste this Chardonnay. I'm like, all right, and went up, and you personally were opening up some more bottles to share with people, and we just started chatting right then and there. And that's when we met, and just kind of started laughing and joking immediately. And
I think I was joking with you that, like, for the next one, because I was, like, in a dark kind of corner of that thing, and I was like, damn, for the next one, I really want to get, like, one of those wavy arm dudes and, like, put it on my table just so people know that, like, where I am. Like, I think it'd be, like, endearing and annoying, which I think is, like, 2 things I, like, really embrace. Like, how do I be, like, endearing and annoying?
And you had the best photo booth picture of all of that. That thing lives online.
That was a good. You're right.
Colorful shirt.
Yeah.
And you're smiling like that. You had the best photo booth
thank
picture.
you.
Yeah,
I still love that picture. Yeah, thanks so much.
I still have a picture. We'll move forward from that to when we had the wine bar, and started, pouring all the wines, and when Wicked Liquid first came around for the Larry's label. And you came over and did the very first, one of the only wine tastings or winemaker things at the wine bar. I have as my wallpaper on my computer the picture of you and I'm in the kitchen doing something, and you're there, and we're both laughing and talking, and it's just like this really cool picture of the two of us, and just like in our element, in the kitchen surrounded by wine and folks with glasses, and just...
I think that's kind of one of the things that's always made us have this very familial energy, the 3 of us, and with Bob too, is that, like, and I've said this to you before, that it felt very natural to have, like, an individual relationship with each of you, that it's not like, oh, I'm just friends with Johnny, it's like, I'm not just friends with, like, you. It's like, we each had our own things, and, like, each of these things, like, really has brought us, like, continue to be closer and closer. Like, I love that, because that tasting really kind of cemented it for us. We were like, wow, we really are, like, this is something special. Like, I really love the 2 of you so much.
And
it just keeps getting better and better.
Yeah.
It just keeps getting better and better. And between you and Scott Frank, you got us to move to Portland.
Yeah.
Get off the Sorry, you don't have a place to crash on the coast anymore. But,
That's okay.
But
But
now we're here.
like I said at the time, that reset is what both of you needed. Like, you have to, reinvent yourself every once in a while or every so often, and this was the opportunity to do that. And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah, it
and
was.
look at what you've created. I mean, how is this a year for edible too?
The magazine that's coming out now is the fourth. It's a seasonal thing.
Yeah.
So we have now gone through one whole.
Look at you guys.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Yeah.
Congrats to that too.
1 year, 1 year, 1 year. Look at us. Cheers, Dean. Cheers to
Cheers,
everyone.
Dean. Yeah.
You guys know with these podcasts, you should pour yourself a glass of wine when you're watching these. Just
Yeah, definitely.
it's just
Yeah.
this is how it goes. Or text us, hit us up on the Instagram, and we'll let you know where we're going next, so you can just come hang out with us. While we're
Yeah. We could have had part two. We could have had people watching. This would have been great.
It is a special relationship, and it's special things you do. So we talked a little bit about Statera, which we can still talk about that. Chardonnay only, working with some great vineyards, but also some different approaches to technique and style of making.
Yeah, I actually have got some other Chardonnay open if you guys would like to.
I'm gonna.
You want to feel free to dump things out.
There was the one that you did that you guys left in the barrel for 6 years or something.
7.
7 years.
Yeah, do you want to try a little bit of that? I've got it.
If it's open, you don't have to.
No, it's open. Yeah.
Cool.
So.
'Cause I think this is a fun one to talk about.
Yeah. So there's this wine region in France called the Jura.
Jura.
I always think that it's funny because it's I always say the Jura, it's the thing. It's just Jura, right? But I'm it's the Jura, it's the
We'll
thing.
say the Willamette.
But they make this wine called Vengeance, and Vengeance is not typically made with Chardonnay. That's just not the grape for it.
Also not an action star in the next Fast and Furious.
Yeah.
Von John is not.
But it means yellow wine, right? And basically it's a wine that's in barrel for 7 years. And there's this special kind of yeast floor, a special kind of like sherry, esque sort of stuff, but it's unique to Vengeance. Meredith and I being the we love Jura, and our style of Chardonnay winemaking emulates Jura more than it does Burgundy. And we were well, clearly we got to try to make a wine that is like that kind of emulates Vengeance in style. So yeah, we took 1 barrel of Celilo Vineyard Chardonnay from 2016, and we set it aside. And we made this. It was in barrel for 7 years.
Wow.
And some change before we did
Special.
anything with it. Yeah, super special. We only topped the barrel twice, and this wine never saw any sulfur. So 7 years in barrel, no sulfur, only got topped twice, and it made this kind of rich thing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's something special.
Oh, it is.
This wine is available here. It's our 2016 Chardonnay Vellum. All the wines that I'm pouring for you today are wines you can currently buy here. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. This wine's super neat.
This is just such a cool project, and again, Chardonnay only label, but different ways of doing it. Skin inclusion.
I'm looking at the shelf right here, and I see 1, 2,
Bubbles.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Chardonnay wines right here.
Yeah.
All made in different ways. So the only one grape, but figuring out ways to make Chardonnay in different ways.
Wow.
And to present it is that's cool, right?
It's
How
so
often do
cool.
you get
It's
to work with a single grape and be all right, how do you reinvent the wheel?
Right.
Yeah, not only just this vineyard is this one and this vineyard is this, but we're going to take that a step further and do some cool stuff within all of that.
To that end too, none of it's dessert wine because we make everything as wild fermented wines. Everything's unfiltered. We can't make a sweet wine. So of those 7 iterations of wines, none of them are off dry. None of them are sweet. It's 7 styles of dry Chardonnay in different ways. That's crazy. We're crazy.
I mean, yeah, but we love it. And the people do. I mean, it just, like I said, having that bottle, we bought one, I think, even that very first time.
Oh, yeah.
Back when at Division. And then.
Yeah.
Then,
I mean, you two still, love to drink bottles of Chardonnay at home, and you drink Statera a fair amount because
Fair amount.
it's your love of Chardonnay has just grown since you left California together, and now you have found Willamette Valley Chardonnay and.
That and from my time working with the French and spending that much time in Burgundy, I know we were talking more of a Jura style, but it's to me Chardonnay. I say this often, one of the most widely planted grapes on the planet.
I think it is the most widely planted wine grape on the planet, right? Or is that Uni Blanc? I think it might be Uni Blanc.
But also one of the most widely abused grapes, and it's just you know what, when it's beautiful, just.
Yeah.
Step back.
So Meredith has this really cool way of putting it, that she says Chardonnay is very much like a cool blank slate, and it shows the winemaker's influence in hand so much.
Wow.
So that influence can be seen if you stir lees, right? It makes it richer, fatter. Meredith and I don't stir lees on our wines. That's not what we do. It can be shown if you use new oak, it shows new oak really well. We don't use any new oak. It can be shown really well if you clean hard filter it to make it shinier or more polished. We don't filter anything. It can be shown if you use higher ferment temperatures to race through ferment to get it dry so you can add sulfur sooner to push reduction in wines. We don't do temperature manipulation on the wines. We just let them just kind of cruise along. They take as long as they need to ferment, as they want to ferment. And so we continue to show off how much Chardonnay is it reflects the winemaker's hand in its making process, in ways that I kind of have dubbed intentional neglect, where it's
Intentional.
we're letting these wines become themselves. The word Statera means balance.
Yeah.
In our logo, there's these two little arrows. That's the chemistry symbol for equilibrium. Our whole goal for making Chardonnay in the ways that we do is to truly let them find their kind of path forward. And
It's beautiful.
we nudge it in a direction, whether it's all skin contact Chardonnay with our Chardonnay cutis, half skin contact, half direct press with Unicus, single vineyard iterations, shorter versions of this with our Chardonnay Rudis, Solera of Chardonnay with Multa. There's so many iterations that you can do and still make wines intentionally. And a lot of it is having the faith in your process and decisions that you've made to allow them to kind of ride out. Because if you just start to doubt yourself, doubt the choices you've made, doubt the path that you're on, that's when you start to make decisions based on your emotions and not based off of the actual wisdom that you have worked your whole life to try to put together, right?
And you got one shot a year.
Yeah,
one shot
that's
a
the
year.
thing too. Wine is such a weird business to be in because we're 10 years in, our bodies certainly don't get any younger as we continue to do this, and so every winemaker really only has 25, maybe 30, maybe 35 opportunities to make wine because you get to do it once a year. And so once a year, you have this opportunity. And it's a strange thing. It's not like beer where you can be cool, I made this rad recipe, and I can buy the dry ingredients and I can repeat it again and again and again. Wine is this way. Cider, in some ways, you can freeze a whole tank of apple juice and let it rip and make a cool cider, but really cider is similar to wine in a lot of ways too. But yeah, wine is this unique thing. We only get one shot, and our goal is to just not screw it up, right?
Yeah.
Speaking of cider, you've dabbled in cider a little bit.
Oh yeah, quite.
And some cider wine hybrids and
Yeah.
You've done more than dabble.
I've done more than dabbled. I first started working with apples in 2020 vintage, and that was the first year I made a sparkling wine called Chimera, where I blend apple wine and aromatic grape wine together, all fermented separately.
And it's under the Larry's label.
Yeah, it's under my Larry's label, not under Statera. So Larry's, for people watching this far into it before it gets cut down, edited, and all that. It is my solo project. Meredith also has her own solo project called Est Wines. That's this one right here. We both make like wines with the same exact kind of principles as Statera, with like radically different concepts about how we go about them. For Meredith and her Est label, it's a 4-acre vineyard that she does all the farming on. It's pretty much limited to just Pinot Noir with a couple rows of Sauvignon Blanc. And then Larry's is like a real kind of glimpse into my mind.
That's you, boo.
Yeah, it's very much like a boundless sort of brand where everything is everything kind of comes about because I've like imagined it, and I'm like, oh, I want to make that and see what it tastes like. So that's kind of how we ended up with Larry's. Yeah, if you guys would like to try a little bit of my Aligote, or if you're ready to move on to some red wine, we can certainly move on to red. I would love
to try some Aligote.
Aligote.
It's one of my favorites that you've made.
Yeah, Aligote is a first cousin to Chardonnay, so I think it's kind of a nice like step from here to get to try a little bit of. And this is Aligote. The Helton, yeah? No, this is Yamhill Carlton. Yeah, okay. This is the 2021 Aligote. Not in barrel for as long, like the Johann vineyard from Statera in barrel for 16 to 18 months. The Aligote from 2021 was in barrel for only around 6 to 8 months. And the reason for that is like kind of trying to keep a little fresh. But I think it's so kind of interesting at this point. Aligote is not something that like we get to age for a very long time. I think this is one of the last 4 bottles of it that there are. So, yeah.
Don't go looking for it because Deb and I are going to take it.
Yeah.
Well, I was just thinking.
It doesn't exist anymore?
This on a warm day, you know, sitting
inside with the cheese by the fire.
Oh, yeah.
Totally. Yeah.
I was just.
And the yacht rock on the tune box.
There you go.
Yeah, so like during this kind of season right now, like in Burgundy, you can buy these things called a cure, and it's basically like cassis and Aligote mixed together. It's kind of this like sweet, like berry flavored white wine combo that they put together. So with this kind of one of the last bottles of Aligote here, I've got some like Pacific Northwest huckleberry syrup, and so I'm doing like a huckleberry cure here. So if people want to come by, like this is a really good opportunity.
And we know what huckleberries are, as opposed to a few podcasts previously. The discussion about tayberries.
Yes.
Oh, tayberries are good though, right? Man, those are neat.
We had to Google and have a round table discussion about what tayberries were.
That's cute. One of the cool things for you guys, I know that like this is how it goes with like any conversations we have. Okay. One of the cool things that's about you two running this magazine that I found is that you're using this as an opportunity to continue your own education in food and wine, and it's been really neat to see like your like eyes continue to light up with what you're learning and how you're applying that to the kind of like the magazine sort of like writ large, right? Like it's the education that you're going through and running this magazine, meeting all these producers, meeting farmers, chefs. You're learning more, and the magazine is becoming more informed the more that you two do. It's really cool to see this. Like the magazine's getting like richer and more dense and tighter. It's pretty neat stuff.
I hadn't thought about that.
It's true though, isn't it?
I mean, that's really cool.
I know that. Yes, I know for sure. I'm getting educated because, you know, my careers have never been in food or wine. You know, I was the academic teacher and librarian person. So, you know, what I'm learning, continuing to learn, it's just a lovely journey. A lovely journey. I'm going to admit right here on camera that, you know, I was raised, you know, just a stone's throw away from the Napa Valley. And so my first Chardonnays were pretty heavy.
That genre.
Yeah, that genre, you know, with the heavy oak and buttery and all that stuff. And so I had to learn what Chardonnay really tastes like.
Yeah.
And, you know, your palate will guide you if you let it. And so over the years, more and more, you know, I'm just really enjoying understanding the different nuances, and also I just love it when nobody's messed with it a whole lot.
Well, and then to get into something like this Aligoté, or we've been dabbling a lot in Chenin Blanc lately.
Cool.
Which I think is...
Dabble with me, guys. Come on by. I want to
Yeah, I mean,
let's go.
I think Chenin Blanc is going to be a hit for Oregon here real fast.
Yeah, I mean, go talk to Tom and Kate at Division.
Yeah.
You
Right.
know, like they and Scott Frank. Like, I mean, they're like kind of on the forefront of a lot of this. In that Johann piece, I like talked to Scott a lot about his goal and like how he got into this, and about Chenin was like, part of his plan from the beginning. And I worked for Tom and Kate for 3-ish years, something like that, as their assistant winemaker, and getting to work with Chenin with them, gosh, I wish I could find a good site for it. Like, it's hard to find. Like, there's very, very little of it. But it's a beautiful grape, and I think you're right.
I mean, not to take away from...
take away from it. Like, community, not competition, man.
Yeah,
like,
it's just...
I don't get, like, let's gas other people up. Let's, like, I don't...
Aligoté, I mean... And you made this pretty... You haven't made it every year. Because you haven't always had access to weather or environmental...
Weather, environmental, but what it's really come down to is my commitment to purchasing fruit from people that take care of people. And so... I worked with this fruit for only 1 year and, did a little bit more digging, and the owners are not people that I felt like I should be supporting with my money. And so I decided I'd rather not make Aligoté than continue to make Aligoté and support people that aren't taking care of community.
Yeah.
And so it was a hard choice to make, because I started the Larry's brand specifically to be making Aligoté. Like, that's what I really want to be doing. And yeah, I haven't had access to Aligoté now for 4 years. Like, unless I can find some this year, it'll, 22, 23, 24, 25 now, 4 years. I just can't find a site for it that's going to work. So that's how it is.
Yeah. That's...
Well,
but it's admirable.
Oh, it's very
it's right back
admirable.
to that.
It's very
Community
admirable.
taking care of people, and you sticking to your guns of like, I'd love to do this, but
Yeah.
I'm not gonna spend my money, i.e., the people who spend their money on my wines and help do this. Like, no, we gotta set.
All I want to do is sleep well at night. That's really what it is. Like,
That's a good way to put it.
That's it.
As I'm looking at Snoopy up here, relaxed, having a having a little siesta. Let's talk a little bit about... We've talked a lot about red wines, or white wines.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about red wines.
Yeah.
Because you have done some... You've applied... Go ahead.
I was just going to say, but before you put those away, can we talk about the labels?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, what I was going to ask you to do, Deb, for me, actually, right behind you, there is a bottle of Meredith's Pinot Noir on the red label there.
Here?
Would you mind handing me one of those?
Not at all.
Let's chat about some red wine, and then we can chat a little bit about...
I was going to say, label out.
Oh.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Because you've also done some crazy fun things. So, with, like you said, boundaryless on the Larry's label.
So for Larry's,
Whites.
I do my own label artwork for them.
Yeah.
The label artwork is based off of Gustave Doré prints. Gustave Doré, this prolific illustrator from the mid to late 1800s. And yeah, I take those illustrations that he did. They're etchings, so
Wow.
So I take those, I re-illustrate it, and then I turn them in these kind of like twisted digital collages of sorts. Like this print right here was from 1868.
Wow.
And then I take them and I turn them in. They're kind of like my own kind of twisted.
Did you
little
put
horror
the cats?
show.
Did you put the cats in there?
They're wolves. They look like
Wolves.
cats, isn't it?
Okay.
Everybody says
They're
cats, and
cats.
they're
Okay, they're
wolves.
wolves.
Like
Okay.
it's I didn't put those in there, but I did tweak the moon quite a lot, and obviously it's a black and white etching, so like kind of put my own spin on it in a
Sure.
queer, colorful sort of way. That's my vibe.
But all of them that you do too. I mean, it's.
Yeah,
I mean, disco's always been my favorite. I mean, I love that.
it's a cool wine, man.
I love that label, and I love that wine.
It's a cool wine. Yeah, let's chat a little bit about red wine, and this is a good opportunity to kind of pivot over to Meredith's label. Her label is called Est, E-S-T. It's entirely from a little 4-acre vineyard planted in 1982 by a man named Bruce Weber. And when Meredith graduated from UC Davis with her master's degree in viticulture enology, she wasn't entirely sure kind of what she wanted to do with it, and she ended up hearing from one of her family members here that a family friend had this little vineyard here in Willamette Valley. It was actually only a few miles away from the house she grew up in. And he offered her the opportunity to teach her how to farm it, and that in exchange of her learning how to farm it, he would eventually give her the vineyard.
Yeah.
And so Meredith, along with making Statera with me, has been a dedicated farmer for this site, eventually transitioning it from conventional farming to organic and regenerative farming there on the farm. There's like 100 rows or so of grapes there. 98 rows of Pinot or something along those lines, and 2 rows of Sauvignon Blanc. This is her 100% Pinot Noir from the 2023 vintage. And it's split between 2 different clones. She co-ferments the 2 clones. It's Pommard and Vadensville clone.
Talking to Deb right now.
I love Vadensville so much. It just has this like kind of spicy raspberry sort of thing about it that I love. And no new oak. We don't use any new oak on any of our wines. All wild ferment. Meredith is one of the smartest, most brilliant people I've ever met in my life. She has this brain that just is like, she's just this machine. Like she has this amazing capacity for both emotional intelligence and like deep intellect in her pursuits. And I think that it shows a lot in the like tension and vibrance of her wines. This wine's really young, obviously, 2023. But I think that one of the amazing things about this site. So this vineyard is located on the east side of the river, the Willamette River. It's kind of like why it's anecdotally named Est. It's like the French word for east.
Oh.
And it is just this like wonderful, tight, like naturally acidic, but like bright Pinot Noir, just like kind of exploding with black and red fruit. It's kind of got these wonderful, like tea-like umami aromatics to it, and like wonderfully fresh, right?
I see Sisyphus on her labels.
Yeah. So she has Sisyphus as this current iteration. She's actually going through a label rebrand right now.
Is
So
she?
we're gonna get to see
all kinds of info
I know.
today.
I can't wait. We're gonna get to see some like a new label concept and design
Wow.
from her this year. So she's going through a little bit of a rebrand. She's keeping Est, but we're gonna see a new look. So Sisyphus, real asshole of a guy, right? Like, in many ways, he deserved what he got, but that's kind of like here nor there. Sisyphus, cursed mythological figure to push a rock uphill every single day for eternity. And the kind of concept of putting this on the label is that when you are this person farming all the time, it's hard work.
Yep.
It's if you lose sight of what your goal is, you could get lost in how hard it is. And a little bit of a reframing of where you're at in your life can easily put you on a different path to say like, look at how much purpose I have. Look at how much direction I have. Instead of this being this like curse of never-ending work season after season, this is an opportunity for me to like have purpose. Like when I wake up each day, I know what I'm doing. And for Meredith in this label, I think we get to see a lot of that.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how that came about for her label artwork.
Sure, this is lovely.
One thing about Meredith's Reds specifically,
God, that's good.
yeah, it's insane, but there's this garnet, ruby, deep gemstone color
Yeah,
to
right.
her Pinots. I mean, since, I've been playing with you guys in the wines since, I don't know, ever how many years ago.
They're just like
but I'm
bright.
just like, just look at
I know.
I mean, it's like
Yeah.
I don't.
Pay
I
attention
hear people
to-
say that all the time. A lot of that's acidity. So like
Yeah.
the wine has this natural
It's
acidity.
just- it's gorgeous.
The vineyard sits on this little bubble of volcanic Jory soil, kind of out in the middle of nowhere, out in Malala, and it maintains natural acidity. And good bright acidity helps keep the like color molecules, the anthocyanins in the wine held together. So they, instead of like watching those color molecules like oxidize a little bit more, it maintains those like vibrant hues to them all. And I think this wine and her wines do that with aplomb. I mean, it's just like,
Yeah.
they're just so vibrant,
Yeah.
like you said,
Yeah.
that garnet ruby color just.
I mean, it's just like, pay attention, the Pantone color of the year, people. This is
yeah, it's like
this is the
incredible
color.
stuff, right?
This should be it.
Yeah, like
So-
looking at it, looking at it with this light, like against some white instead of the black background, it really does just show this like crazy color that is just so bright. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
she's something special.
And the aromatics, I mean, everything. So Meredith's working, with that specific vineyard for Est, and you guys together with Statera work with different vineyards from around the
Yeah.
state.
And Larry's is the same. I work with different vineyards.
Well, that's what I was
around
going to
the
ask.
state. Yeah.
How far south, north, west, or east? I mean,
Yeah.
because you were very. I mean, I've known you long enough, and we've been close for a long time. And I know that you drive far for very specific things to very
Yeah.
specific vineyards for very specific reasons.
So Meredith and I, the farthest south that we've gone for fruit is down to the Elkton AVA, which is down, it's like 3 hours south of Portland. It's one of our friends, our close friends. His name is Nathan Wood. He's now the grape grower at Johann.
Right.
He really connected us to Elkton because his dad has this little piece of property. He's got a little vineyard there now. A lot of the fruit that I buy for Larry's is from down there. I've worked with Aligote from down there, Pinot Noir, Pinot Gris, Riesling, Melon de Bourgogne, Chenin Blanc was not. Oh, we didn't get the Chenin from there actually. Scratch that.
That's okay.
Yeah, we have. That's about as far south as we've gone. In 2022, I drove all the way to just about eastern Washington to go to Red Mountain AVA to get some Syrah. I've actually got some of that open if you'd like to try a little bit today.
That was the trip I was supposed to go with. But
Yeah, you were.
my car blew up
Yeah, it did.
on Highway 34.
That was an interesting trip for me, but it was fun. Yeah, it was great.
I was bummed. I was really bummed.
Yeah. For the most part, our fruit is from Willamette Valley.
Yeah.
But we are not afraid to kind of like look elsewhere, to go elsewhere to find stuff that we think is going to be compelling and worthwhile.
Fits.
And fits also into the, checks all the boxes of how they pay, what they do. Meredith's is certainly the closest vineyard to town.
Sure.
I think with, it's just on the other side of the river. I think from her house it's 30 something minutes away, maybe 40 minutes away. Johann's about an hour away from us. Another vineyard we work with, Royer, that's around an hour away. We're driving is just kind of part of the thing, especially if you're going to live in Portland and make wine in Portland like we do now.
That's
like you're going to have to drive outside of the city to get fruit. There's only one vineyard in Portland city limits, and that would actually be a cool story for you guys.
Yeah.
I'll write it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah.
Let me check with the editor.
Yeah, it's a cool story though.
Yeah.
I think like we just go to where the good fruit is.
I
Right?
remember that vineyard on the hill there in West Lynn for a while. I don't think it's there anymore. Winemaking, the production side of it. You guys are in town.
Yeah, we're in Milwaukee now. So
Yeah.
we're at AVP, which is this like collective winery space. A lot of good familiar brands are based there. It's a wonderful community winemaking place. We're just pretty happy to get to make wine in town instead of driving all the way out to the valley anymore. It's really nice.
Because you did that for so many years, man.
Yeah, I did it for 9 years.
Driving back and forth every day.
Like Meredith and I both have spouses that work in Portland and don't want to live out in the valley. I personally don't want to live in the Willamette Valley either. I'm not a farmer, which probably comes as no surprise to anybody that spends any amount of time talking to me. And so yeah, we both have committed to making our lives here in Portland. Meredith and James, her husband, are raising their 2 little kids here. Yeah. Me and my spouse Jocelyn, we live here in town. We have this rich community of friends. We don't want to leave. So getting to make wine here in town now at AVP has been incredible. Like,
cool.
AVP's 13 minutes from my house.
I was gonna say,
our last winery was an hour and a half from our house.
One way.
One way. So
that's 3 hours a day.
Yeah, there were times at the last winery where when it came to like topping every 2 weeks, I would drive out there. Topping only takes an hour and a half. And so I would do a total of 3 hours of driving for an hour and a half of work, and I was like, I hate this so much. I hate this so much. This is not for me. But yeah, we're pretty stoked to be here in town now entirely. It's a good fit for us.
Do you want to talk? 22s are tasting great. People are talking about them. 23 seems like it's doing pretty good across the board.
23 was a really interesting year.
That was the weird freeze, wasn't it? Was that the year with the April freeze that knocked out first?
22 did that, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, 22.
I mean, it's, we had smoke. Everything went wrong
2020. 2020 was smoke, and then
and everything else.
It's just, this is like, instead of feeling sorry for ourselves like we can't catch a break, this is like another opportunity to say like, we need to like adapt. We need to like,
what can we learn? What can we do?
How can we like pivot into new perspectives instead of feeling like fixed on a certain course? Let's decide to proactively do something that's going to be, uplifting for our wines and for ourselves instead of getting bogged down in like, tell yourselves good stories, good things happen, right? Tell yourselves bad stories, bad things happen.
Put that energy out there.
Put that energy out there.
It's
23s. It's a really interesting year because I felt like rain pushed right into the perfect zone when everything was getting ripe. And so like, it'll be interesting to see how those wines develop. In a lot of ways, I think those wines are going to develop and age really well. As we're getting ready to kind of bottle and blend them. Anecdotally, all my 23s for Larry's are already bottled, as are Meredith's wines. But Statera, we over vintage like lots of stuff, and so our 23s were just kind of like hanging out. It's like part of what we do. And yeah, I think we're really excited. We're gonna we're bringing back sparkling Chardonnay. We haven't had it in a couple years, so we have the 2023 sparkling Chardonnay. It's gonna come out. It's gonna be really nice. It was a pretty lean vintage for us. We started like tapering off a lot of production that year. The economy has hit small wineries really hard.
A lot of foresight and a wise move.
Yeah,
as it turns out,
anecdotally, 2024, 2024 was our 10th year making wine together. Statera didn't make any wine because the economy is hitting small wineries so hard that we were like, what's the point of buying all this fruit only to have this wine just sit in a warehouse and nobody's buying it? We're still trying to sell through really good wines.
I've had too many of this conversation with your fellow brethren winemakers.
We're not unique. There's
this is.
It's hard not to feel like, is it me? Did I do something? Did I We're all in this. It's
Don't.
Well, yeah. I mean, Dom Perignon just said no.
Yeah,
France,
they just. They said they
Jura.
won't make.
We'll go straight to Jura. Horrible year for 24. Also.
So there you go.
for environmental, but yeah, Dom and a bunch of other people, up and just like, no, we're not even going to do it this year.
They're just not making wine.
Just not going to do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird, it's weird seeing the world change rapidly in real time.
So
right?
quickly. We were talking about this just last night.
We hear about things happening, and it's easy to forget how quickly we age and how quickly 20 years ago we were talking about the inevitability of global warming and that it's 50 years out. Well, guess what? Now that 20 years is erased.
Gone.
And, it's a lot closer than it was.
It's on fire and flooding at the same time.
Right.
Yeah, so we're at a tipping point for ourselves as a species, for the way that we consume, for the planet, the way we communicate. And if we really want to see small things like Oltralato and Buona Notte wineries, Statera Cellars, we want to see these things stick around and not just be more conglomerates
Right.
doing, three large corporate wineries make 80% of America's wine.
I totally believe that.
It's true.
Yeah.
And the reason why small brands like ours are struggling is because those large brands can just take all the groundwater, underpay pickers,
Own the distribution channels.
pollute the land that they're working with.
Yep.
They literally get to be the Amazons of the the winemaking world. Yeah. And that's why they can just underprice and undercut and.
It's insane, man, because those guys are for you, you're would you like to buy some of my wine when you're on a sales trip? And these other big guys are it's not just, here, let's print your menus for you with our wines on them, or let's give you some umbrellas for the patio. It's would you like us to build you a restaurant if you're going to feature our wines? They're just buying it in. But it's a chemistry set, man. It's in a bad way. This is not it.
It's a really straight, it's a...
This is wine business.
Yeah.
There's a difference between winemaking and wine industry and the wine business. And when it becomes business, just like anything else, it's just there's a loss of soul. There's no there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of where we're at, It's if we want to see, if Edible Magazine wants to continue to have small, local, cool stuff for people to embrace and celebrate in their own communities, our community's got to show up for it.
Yeah, that's true.
It's one thing to be able to go buy a $6 bottle of Vino Verde from Trader Joe's, without really thinking about that had to cross an ocean to get here.
Yeah.
And do we know what it takes to make a $6 bottle of wine? It's certainly not good for the people making it. It's certainly not good for the ground that those grapes came out of. That's factory, that's industrial.
Absolutely.
We want to look at the small, the little, and try to make sure that sticks around. We all kind of have to show up for it.
It's true. I mean, it's we just maybe we talked about this a little bit last week, but so I'm sorry everybody if I'm repeating myself, but we just brought printing into Portland.
Yeah.
What has happened with that, Luke, is the snowball effect, the tidal wave of more edible publishers calling these guys and coming.
Yeah, we put it out to the community, the ECI community.
Get out, really?
Yeah, and then we said we
like
found this.
6 clients, 6 of the other edibles.
Yeah, I talked with him on the phone yesterday, and he goes, "Man, you're keeping me busy."
I mean, we're talking in a week. We were there last Thursday.
How cool is that, Joe? Right?
It's very cool.
And then the higher ups at Edible ECI at HQ reached out and said, "Can we contact them about coming to the annual Edible Summit where everybody comes?"
Oh my God,
together.
you guys! How rad is
guys,
that?
their sustainable commitments, finding sustainable
Printing.
Yeah, and paper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's expensive and it's insane that you can't even get it. there's like one place in all of this country that handles all of that. I mean, these guys live.
Winter 25.
There it is.
Take a look for it. It's out. It's coming.
It's coming. They're getting out there.
Yeah, and this is printed in Portland.
Printed in Portland.
And with sustainable inks and with like sustainable paper stock. And the greatest thing about it is that like it doesn't like quality wasn't sacrificed for it. It's beautiful. Like it has a good touch and a good feel. It's aesthetically like it's all there.
And it came from Northwest 35th down to Southeast 109
That's
instead
incredible.
of across the country.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So back
so-
to that $6 Vino Verde they got on a ship and a truck and a thing and a guy and a plane and a...
That says so much, right? Like look at this local magazine that made the conscious decision to, did it cost a little bit more to print here?
No.
We actually saved
So-
money on top of it.
So
The
get that,
wins are
like
across
get
the
that.
board.
You know, you are taking like you're taking the money that this Portland community, this like Pacific Northwest community, is like investing in this publication via advertising, via the businesses that come out to like that you support, that people are going to those businesses. You're then taking that, printing here in town, and instead of spending who knows how much on diesel to cross the country.
Oh gosh, yes.
Now it's literally across town. Like these are the choices that like we have to embrace. We have to make them together because making choices to focus locally will give us better context for how to act globally. Right? Like we can only empower other communities if we are empowering ourselves and our community here at home. And that's like, it has to start where you're at.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is cool. I can't wait to, I'm glad that you guys did that. Like, what an amazing thing that you did.
Yeah, I just was thinking, like, I don't know if we even told Luke this
Yeah.
yet, but...
Yeah, you did. You told me that you were printing here, and I just think it's super rad that it's here now.
It's here now, and it's back to that community, it's back to that neighborhood, it's back to that, you know, tides and all ships rising together and our different pieces. The thing that's been interesting, and we're going to actually do a podcast with them and get in a little bit deeper on the printing process and getting, I mean, this is like a 4th generation company, it's been in
Right.
Portland forever. Doing all the right things. People are very happy there. They don't have turnover, all those telltale signs that people are doing the right.
People are like, I've worked here for 10 years. You're like, okay. Like,
Yeah. We have learned so much. You talked about that, about, you know, Mom came from books and librarian teacher and writer and teaching kids, and she misses them. I try to act up as much as I can. So,
yeah, nice.
And I'm coming, you know, from the food and wine side of a few decades, but to get to something like this and learn something new and have kind of a redirect, it's been fascinating to learn. And it's been fascinating to be able to say, all right, we have some wonderful friends that have not just a product or a thing, but an essence and a theme and ideas and ethics.
Yeah.
And ideas, not just in their production, but about everything. And like, you know, come on board, baby. You know,
stuff.
Let's
and
do
the,
this.
and the staff, you know, all
Right
the
there
way
behind
through.
the camera. One of these days, we're gonna flip that camera around.
Yeah, we'll have to interview you.
To Dino.
I love it.
But the I was going to talk about the staff out at Journal. Can I say the name?
Journal Graphics.
Journal Graphics.
Why not?
Yeah. The staff out there, their service is just premium high. I mean, there was a little thing I thought I wanted to change, you know, and then I got to really realizing, because our designer is in San Francisco, which is the next thing we've got to get up here.
Yeah, you're about to get another job with Edible.
Great. I need it. Yeah, let's do it. The staff and the service there?
Yeah, the staff and the service there, they're just so warm. I mean, and we were literally out on the floor with the guys, you know, looking at the sheets and deciding whether or not everything was right, and you're looking, you know,
Little loop. The loops. You know,
where you're like
down there.
right down, you're looking right deep in the color and all that.
It's
so we were
insane
on the
that
fact.
Ford color dots can make
Right.
a time leaf on,
I know.
on a cast iron pot. It was like,
Sam YK.
what's going on right now?
Yeah, I think this is pretty neat. Deb, you've told me a little bit before that like you miss part of the aspects of working in libraries and you miss working with kids. And like now, I don't know why I haven't thought of it up until now. Like, what if there was like a little thing that you did that was like an insert in an edible edition for kids, where it's like, this is like edible for kids. Like here's like cool kids menu things at different restaurants, or cool things to do with kids here in town.
That's a good idea, because we've done a few kid insert stuffs, and a few of them that you can actually cut out, and the kids can have. There's stuff about bees and making a hive, and stuff like that.
And that was a really cute thing.
Bees and water, y'all.
Yeah.
Without them, we ain't got nothing.
Nope.
Sorry for my very bad.
But yeah, I think that would be cool for you, like to continue your work in educating kids via library, and now you're doing it. You have the opportunity to do it through a publication.
Yeah.
I think that's great.
Cool.
Like, get after it, girl.
Thank you.
Not that you need another job either, right?
No, but there'll come a time when I'm not quite so busy.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is that we're having fun, so that's part of it. Dean came into our lives. Got to do. When I texted you the other day, and you said we got, you guys had just got back from LA, and you're like, "Yep, come on down, let's do it for today, for this." I've been giddy all week, man.
Good. Yeah, I haven't seen you guys in far too long.
Oh.
It's just like,
Yeah.
it's just this is a long one, so sorry, not sorry.
Well, yeah, and he can.
We'll let Dean.
He can
figure out
do
if it's
his
gonna be
magic.
two or what's gonna happen.
Yeah, I was gonna say I gotta get the bar open.
Yeah,
but I look forward to getting to hang out with you guys kind of off camera a little bit more and really like catch up, and we can turn some music on, open the blinds, and
there you go.
Get after it.
Anything that you want to say to all the people? Is there something that people don't know that you might want to tell them? Like you are secretly a superhero from the planet.
Yeah.
Something.
This is a really like 2025, like I've kind of emphasized, is a good year for us to like kind of circle back and make things local. So like, if you think of it, go out, buy local, buy a bottle of wine from somebody in your community. Buy bread from a local bakery. This year, all of the Christmas shopping I did, I just drove around town and I bought from actual physical stores, and I didn't order anything. Like the more that we can do that, like it might take a little bit more time, but I think the more time that we intentionally take to participate in our community, the more that we will see that kind of intention pays dividends in like the richness of our lives.
I totally agree. And the other thing, and I know, I'm white haired, obviously much, much older. And so, everybody always goes on, older women are practically invisible in the population. But I can remember slower times because you had to go get your bread, from a certain place, or you had to go get this from, if you wanted these.
You actually had to go to the doctor for an appointment instead of talking
I've been
through your computer.
Oh my gosh!
I can only imagine you navigating telehealth.
Oh, it was horrible. But I'm starting to see how we could bring. I know people are going, who cares if it comes back, but more of a human contact.
Yeah.
From all that we're talking about, because you just kind of slow it down and do it right, and
it's like those listening bars and those cafes and things. And Asian and up in the northern Western European countries that are, no phone, no computer, no nothing. You got to come
stuff.
in and unplug.
Something my wife Jocelyn,
as we're saying this right here on something for YouTube.
Something my wife Jocelyn has really been pitching to me, because business has been really slow. Like we've talked a lot about this, not just for me, for all of my people, everybody I know that makes wine in this world is like, we're in a tough spot.
Yep.
But something that she has been talking to me a lot about is like, instead of getting into the sort of like getting lost in the sauce of this like dystopian hellish future ahead, that there is this kind of version of it that's called like solar punk, and it's basically like, we can look at the changing world and planet around us with optimism. That there still is an opportunity. There still is the capacity, even with catastrophic change, even with all of the hard things we see. There, growth comes from fire. And we can look at all of this as an opportunity to continue to grow closer together, and that we can immediately do that, like your readers, your viewers, us in community, we can immediately do that by maintaining some optimism in what's ahead, because that's really the best way that we're going to enjoy tumultuous times ahead. And let's just call it there, because we can get to hang out a little bit more and maybe try some food and whatnot.
Perfect. Statera.
Yeah.
Larry's Est 109 Southeast Salmon.
Yeah.
Look for them also at your local independent wine shops.
Yeah.
They're out there. Look for the tastings. Look for the events. Luke does some wonderful live events and music and DJs, and has the wines and stuff there.
D&D here once a week.
D&D.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Thank you guys for hanging in with us. This was long one, but
Yeah.
it was going to be. But it's a good one. Appreciate you.
Yep.
Endlessly, I appreciate both of you. Thank
Love
you.
you so much.
Love you too, babies.
Thank you, Dean. Thank you,
Yeah.
everybody.
Thanks, Dean.
We'll see you guys on the next one next week. We'll keep loading them up. Spotify is up. Dean's going to tell me sooner or later when Apple happens. He says yes.
Great.
We do communicate. We actually have a company in business. Anyway, thank you guys. Peace and water, y'all. We'll see you out there. Stay wild.
Cool.
Good job, everybody.
Stay wild.
Have you ever heard of the Shook Twins?
I don't know that I have.
There's this cool song that they have. They're from the Pacific Northwest.
Okay.
There's this cool song they have called Stay Wild
Stay wild.
that I'll put it on for you guys right now.
Oh,
Very
good.
cool.